Hey there, YouTubers. So, if you do a serialization, the way Charles Dickens used to publish his novels, the way a lot of magazines have operated, is they've serialized something for a reading public that can't wait then to buy the next issue. There's that cliffhanger thing. And this has gone over into television and it's gone into YouTube's and really life in general. It's a lot about novelty and exciting news, things that get your heart rate going, maybe a little adrenaline, goes well with coffee, gets you going in the morning. So, against that kind of foreground, there's always the background stuff that's interesting as well. And I may have picked up, a few more viewers for this channel because, as I've done before, I've meddled in the election. But as a voter, as a citizen, like I'm one of those people who thinks that it's not okay to just vote. Like I worked for Project Vote, which was about just restoring the principle, getting more people registered. There's tremendous amount of disenfranchisement in this country, right? It's like every year it's more evident that reforms are needed, but nothing occurs, and it's become frustrating. So I've been in the Tulsi Gabbard Facebook group. There are many, so when I say the one, I don't mean anyone in particular. It's whatever one this one is, right? And sharing needle in a haystack, what very few people will come across, but it's like what I can do, right, is just share an occasional research foray into what? One of those, well, where does it go? I'll take you there again. It goes to my last two videos, which are only glancingly about Tulsi Gabbard, right? It's like if you saw them, we're talking a lot about the Rust programming language. There's always delay here, so I'll do what's called asynchronous, where while you wait for one thing to load, you talk about something else. Tucker Carlson coming forward on events from a year ago in April, right? More than a year ago, that I was into as well, covering, following. This is not going to go away, people. It's got to be something you talk about more. So that's coming up on the 2020 horizon. And so I shared polyglot synergetics and investigating ideologies. Polyglot synergetics looks like this. Let's turn off the sounds. And I start with some C60, but it's got this computer mumbo jumbo, very geeky, right? So what is this channel really about? Just for anyone new who's joined us, there's the part where I actually talk about the India a little bit. What am I doing? I'm going through lots and lots of YouTubes on my Windows Asus computer and learning about RSS and stuff like that. And I'm inviting people on the Tulsi group to like, hey, look over my shoulder, do your own research. This is a great opportunity to get our heads out of the Middle East for a while. And I'm not saying it's super pleasant in India. I'm not saying it's like better or worse. I'm just saying, don't you want to know what's going on in another big part of the world, like a really big part of the world, right? Like India. There's a lot of focus on China and Russia, and it's like, what about India? What about that? And so here's a doorway, a portal, a good excuse if you've got time to do any research at all. Because one way to smear Tulsi is to just connect her to like the RSS, whatever that means, right? And so, what does that mean? And what is the connection? And I'm sure people who write checks for Tulsi's campaign are sometimes ardent RSS supporters, which is kind of like a make India great again movement, kind of familiar to people, right? So here is a wonderful talk by Jan Zwicky. Chris Fernley put me onto the CJ of Synergetics fame, SNEC founder, co-founder, sponsors a lot of stuff. Anyway, CJ recommended this on his Facebook profile, and I have to say, because it has the Necker cube in it, it's a perfect segue into a lot of the Bucky stuff. So I'm looking for a good shot, but most of it is just her standing at the podium. So I recommend it. I'll put a link to it in my notes to this YouTube. And what else? She gets a good applause at the end, and I would be there applauding for that. What else? So that essay, or that YouTube led me to remember this Bismo Diaries blog post about Necker Cube Guy and Applewhite and I and our relationship a little bit. And really, the whole Wittgenstein duck rabbit is this whole Gestalt psychology thing, and holism and holes and Gestalts. It all works well together, right? So the talk I just showed you by Jan's Wiki is about Gestalt psychology, which I remember as a kid my dad had books about. He was an urban planner, but it would make sense too. It makes sense in his profession, right? That looking at cities, there's things you intuit, um, things that have meaning in urban planning or just planning in general that you wouldn't necessarily think about verbally or capture in words first. You might try to relate your meaning in words, but there's lots to see in just looking at maps, and that was something Dad was doing a lot of doing a lot. Okay, so interesting developments in mainstream media as well as in my little channel, which is quite off to the side, I have to say. But nevertheless, interesting. Talk to you soon.